I say, whoa, now that what's happening with it, y'all? It's your man's them five shot and reporting in the AM. Oh, man, the system is feeding on itself. I just caught some news about the 66 million food stamp fraud that was perpetrated, I believe, in New York, that involved a government employee who worked in the fraud department. And this just highlights to me this, right? And then, I'm going through, I come on here with, I don't know if I'm necessarily a teacher, right? I just go through life experience and then I try to articulate what I've learned. So maybe if you're going through a similar situation, you can take the pros and the cons from how I handle the situation, whatever. But with that being said, I've gone through, let's say a custody battle that I've talked about ad nauseum on here. And in the space of being led by the Spirit to a greater degree and not lean to my own wisdom and understanding. But here's what's tripping, right? So I'm currently in a position, right, where I have to make, I'm in leadership. I have to make judgment calls, right? But what's crazy is how people are giving me information that I don't trust, that I have to disseminate what's true, what's not, and what the motive is, you understand, and then make a proper call, not having all the information. But they're doing this purposely to not give me all the information or try to lead me astray or say enough of the truth to chime me in while simultaneously throwing in some falsehoods in there so that if I make a call and the call don't go right, we can say, see, he's not a capable leader, regardless of you not having all the information or whatever. So how do you do that? You're playing, you're riding blind, right? But we walk by faith and not by sight. So now because I know I don't have all the information or I can't discern what information is pertinent, valid, true versus what's a falsehood and what the motive is for that. Because now we're in this space where people will tell you the truth for ulterior motives. So they're not just telling you the truth for true purposes. They might tell you the truth to hurt you, or they might tell you the truth to build up a level of trust to get you to drop your guard so they can run whatever play they're trying to run, right? So there's no way possible, as intellectual as I like to believe myself to be, there's no way possible I can do that. So I have to be led by the Spirit. You know what I'm saying? And so I had a situation yesterday. I ain't gonna get all to the particulars, but an individual called me and it immediately triggered my spidey sense, like they were able to load up a play on me. So they sounded contrite and all this here. And a lot of things that I assumed, they expounded upon, right? You know how they say the proverbial narcissist, or covert narcissist try to, elicit sympathy. And even though this person, has been a thorn in my side like Paul for, let's say, the last 9 months, now they're in a jacked up situation. You know what I'm saying? According to them. So there's some sympathy and, or trying to elicit sympathy rather. But now my spirit has changed yet again. You know what I'm saying? Because, we're to not repay evil for evil. And is it bless those that spitefully use you, or curse those, or bless those who spitefully use you and rejoice when they curse. But I might got them interchanged, right? So in light of what transpired yesterday, in which I got some not totally correct information, I had to respond to a situation. And as I'm going to said location, like all this stuff is running in my mind, anxiety, what I want to see happen, right? But it's not really what I want to see happen. It's how would I word it? Going about it in a way that yields the best result for all parties involved, right? That's what a leader do, right? So as I get to the location, in which the police were called, what happened? I didn't come with the rah. Here's where the meekness came in at, right? Because I'm trying to, discern what's going on. And I know, and it popped in my head about, parents not, causing your child to wrath or provoking your child to wrath, rather. Things got simmered down. Got a general base understanding of what was going on for me to help facilitate and mitigate these situations not happen moving forward, which now requires me a further level of adaptability, a further level of yielding my time and energy in a different direction. That is pertinent, while at the same time and simultaneously still doing, my practical and spiritual disciplines that keep me straight. Because if I can't keep me straight, I ain't gonna be able to keep nobody straight, and I ain't good to nobody, including myself and the Most High, right? So I'll just go through the process of that. But in this walk, right, of which, up until the last 4 years, I've been a complete utter fool, like a beady-eyed fool, you understand me? And I'm constantly being hit with these experiences, right? Because I'm not allowed to get too comfortable. But the comfortability nowadays will kind of rock you to sleep. So every time I had to meet one of these challenges, and typically how I go about it, okay, here's the challenge. Okay, here's the snap decision. Okay, then we implement, roll the decision out, and then I get more efficient at it. And as I do that, that becomes the new normal. So it's like I can't never get too comfortable, and I ain't even tripping off of it, because that's where the growth is coming in at. And that's what I truly desire, to grow as a human being, to grow as a spiritual being. But how do you grow unless you're met with hardship? How do you, especially in today's time, it's impossible to please God without faith. But like I said in previous videos, I'm constantly in a situation that's uncertain. That's been the case for the least 2 years. And this is when my growth has been exponential. You know what I mean? I see the hardship. I see people, and that's why, it's hard for me to quantify sometimes, because I can be social when I feel like it. It's just that I'm anti this society, this culture, this value system. You know what I mean? And then it's very vexing when you have to tell homies or whoever you're talking to the best course, because they might not be privy to what's going on in society energetically and how it's changed. This isn't the 90s anymore. Your friends and family are probably more dangerous than people don't like you, especially spiritually, right? Well, it takes place in the spiritual realm, right? That's why we kind of be behind the 8 ball to a degree, because it makes no intellectual sense. Why? Especially me, right? This is the greatest version of myself I've ever been. And in being the greatest version of myself I've ever been, I have the least support. Not that I'm looking for it, nor do I need it. You know what I mean? But it's just something to take note of, like. So, when you're down bad, they talk about you. Okay, cool. Or you set up healthy boundaries, you get away from, bad treatment, so on and so forth. Okay, cool. Then when you distance yourself, then here comes the smear campaign. Oh, you were doing this, doing that, the third, and you're not necessarily have the ability to vindicate your own name. You got to take that. Typically, me, myself, I get removed and go to a different location while I'm working on me, while I'm working on forgiveness, or allow the Most High to move on my heart, while I face numerous denials and rejections and doors closing, right, for the purpose of building up character, right? And then what happens? Not through my own hand, I get a breakthrough, so now I'm back on deck. So everybody say I'm back on deck, right? And then what'll happen? They'll play, oh, that's great, da-da-da. Can you help us? So now I've been not required, but I've been put in a space where I have to help assist people who have attempted to hinder me, right? In wisdom, because we're all kind of tied together, right? And helping them would help other people that I truly care about, if y'all can dig what I'm saying, right? But then as you continue to grow and evolve, like the crab in a bucket, I think they believe you're moving past them, or here's what I think is happening too, right? Whereas though my growth and development, or as they said, they picked Yeshua or picked Barnabas over Yeshua because Yeshua held a mirror up to him. Me, getting rid of certain vices, operating in forgiveness, humility, continue to strive skill set wise in knowledge and wisdom and understanding my practical and spiritual disciplines. It's holding a mirror up to them and what they're now. You don't mean it. I don't mean to do. I'm just doing me. but it's showing a mirror, and it's almost saying like, what you think you better than us. And technically, yeah, because I do better stuff. Not that I'm better overall. And I was probably starting off further back than y'all. You understand? So now that as we talk about the proverbial breakthrough and the increase in the spiritual warfare and all this here, right? It's like that can't do a head up because I recognize it, but they're subtly trying to slither in and you know, throw a roadblock or a hurdle, you know what I mean? And just be like, let's see what you do with it. Now I'm out of meeting the challenge, me, myself. The challenges, which isn't a challenge, I just got to be mindful to do it. To every situation I find myself in, how does the Most High want me to handle this? Not me, myself, not my emotions, not my ego. How he want me to handle this. Because by the time when you do it that way, it may seem like you're opening yourself up for attack. Or like when I had to deal with forgiveness, you know, years ago, right? I'm like, yeah, I forgive them. But if I forgive them, they might take me like a week and try to do it again. I didn't ask you that. You know what to do. Just run the play. Just trust the head coach. You know what plays to call. You know what I'm saying? You should already won the championship. You see what I'm saying? We're just going through the season per se, right? And then it'd be kind of hard to make videos too because I have so many different, as they call it, downloads. So, you know, like you download an app to your phone, right? And then, you know, you're looking to see how long it takes to download and it might be 30%. But I can perceive the 30%, but I can't really get a whole gist of it until it completely downloads. And then I got to run the app a couple times to like get used to it. And that's like I'm being downloaded with multiple apps. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and again, like the spirit might tell me do something today. Okay, cool. Then he'll move on my spirit. What I told you to do today, do this now, which is complete exact opposite. And it's not being double-minded or anything like that. It's because of the, I was thinking about this, right? This is how I'm playing. If this life from a spiritual context is a football game, and I've been said this when I was in treatment. Now, of course, we have a general game plan to get down the field and score, whatever that looks like for you, right? But I'm noticing I can't huddle up and call plays because the adversary got a great defense. I mean, it ain't all that. It's formidable. You can't just go out there and not practice and think you're gonna win, right? So I'm having to do a spiritual Peyton Manning here where I'm lining up and I just gotta, line up, call an audible, and then run the proper play based on my experiences and how long I've been playing this game. But here's where the intricacy comes in, because you can read a book about football, but you don't know how to play the game until you play the game and get the smell of the field and the spiritual instincts involved. So I go to the line of scrimmage, right? And they're showing blitz, but as soon as I snap the ball, they back off into coverage. What do you do with that? You see what I'm saying? You have to trust your training that has got you to this point. Speaking for myself. Or here it is. They're in a base defense. Then right before I snap the ball, they press the line of scrimmage and they bring the house. Just get the ball out your hand. You know what I'm saying? Now, I would like to win the game a particular way with a whole bunch of highlight reel plays and, whole bunch of yardage and all this. But the key is to always get positive yardage. That's the key. And when you see that something don't work, scrap it. Or I need this to work, but I'm going to have to work it like this for a while to soften the defense up. For me to run the play I want to run anyway, that I know will work. They're just stopping it right now. So I don't really care about, hindrances. And I've kind of gotten out of that personally. Roadblocks, this, that, and the third. Why are they doing this? I don't care. Just run the proper play on a day-to-day, moment-to-moment basis. That's all you can do. And trust in the Most High, because we're in this space where everything is uncertain. You may have a dream to, I don't know. Now, and I'm not saying don't go for your dream. By all means, go for the gusto. But if it's taking a little longer, or just don't burn out, you know what I'm saying? Don't become weary in well-doing, for in due season you reap your reward. When the reward coming? I don't know. It'll come when you get good and ready. But in the meantime, tween time, I keep banging on the set. You either bang or you get banged on. You know what I'm saying? That's all it is to it. But I know that it's like, and that's why I don't like society like that. It's not that I don't like people. I don't like what this society has become, where everyone is seemingly As the word says, lovers of money, lovers of themselves. Everyone's just using people in their social grouping for ego purposes or for codependency purposes. But I truly, and I said this when I was working at my old job, do people actually like each other for them? You know what I mean? Do people actually, and then you gotta be careful, and I've been privy to this, where when people, especially now, which is insane to me, when people offer help, they're not helping for the sake of helping. They're helping to get close to you. They're helping to get it in so they can throw the ship off course. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of vipers and snakes out here, man. You know what I mean? And then they don't come present themselves as such because you could recognize it. They come a lot of times, especially now in Babylon, they're coming with a helping hand. They're coming, or you may go to them because you perceive they have a knowledge that you need, whether it be spiritually or, practically or whatever the case may be, right? It is completely dangerous for you. That's why I think everybody needs to go on some path of healing and try to spiritually and practically understand what that looks like and try to implement that on a day-to-day basis. You know what I'm saying? Because if people smell some level of vulnerability on you, they're going to come to you in the guise of the help or the understanding thereof, but they're trying to exploit it for their own purposes, which is, I've seen it all through treatment. It's insane to me. You know what I mean? Me personally, with the heart I got, it don't make no sense. If I can't help you, I ain't gonna hurt you. And let's say I unintentionally hurt you, I'm going to make amends because that's where my conscience at with it. I don't want to just be on earth leading folk astray. They got enough folk doing that. They don't need one more. You know what I'm saying? That job position failed. But cover your six out here, and not no fear, nothing like that. But this is forcing you to keep your game tizite. You don't have time for distractions and people, Now, with my personal situation, like I kind of got a fool. It's the proverbial thorn. And it is what it is. But I ain't tripping off of it. I'm keep pressing forward towards the mark. You know what I mean? What else is that? Ain't nothing going to stop that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not for sale. None of that. You can't use my empathy or my desire to see all folks, against me. You can't do that if I'm being led by the Spirit. But now, as well, what I'm saying, the countenance on folks is, people that have lived high on the hog or have a particular title or letters behind their name, nobody's immune to this. That's why the only way is spiritual. Now, you can, spiritually, scripturally, right? And then you can add into psychology or, the scientific benefits of fasting outside of, the spiritual benefits and so on and so forth. The word talks about people increasing in knowledge but never coming to know the truth. Nobody wants, it's the same way we live in a society where nobody wants the truth. Everyone likes being lied to. I love the way you lie. Who in their right mind want to be lied to because it makes, like, I've always been like, ever since I was little, I'd rather know the truth and deal with it than just, you just tell me any old thing to appease some mental comfortability. You know what I mean? This is the system and the people within the system of the matrix are now feeding on each other. They're throwing each other, maybe because we've, distanced ourselves or put up some healthy boundaries and so on. Now these people are feeding on each other. It's like a social cannibalism taking place. You got a government fraud, and I've talked about this on here. Like, these people who work in the government ain't people, ain't got their own situation. But you have how ironic is that? You have a government fraud worker engaged in probably one of the more massive food stamp SNAP benefit frauds in the history. You see what I'm saying? Like the church pastor man. He's to help you, grow spiritually. But a lot of time, you've seen people go to church 10, 15 years, and they haven't grown not near a bit. Their social circle hasn't changed. They don't exhibit any fruits of the Spirit, right? You know what I'm saying? Like in my personal situation, that took place yesterday. I was saying how meekness had to come over me. You know what I'm saying? And I've gotten better with it because the initial disposition of individuals involved was kind of attitude-ish, right? So I kind of like, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, it's not about the attitude. It's about dealing with the demon of the attitude and removing that so we can get to the crux of the matter. And whatever course of action I got to take to facilitate that particular objective is irrelevant. I got to the objective. I don't care how I get there. I don't care if I take the scenic route or go straight down the highway. The key is to get there. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times you might have to take the scenic route because the main road blocked off. And again, a leader takes everyone into account. Now, I can't necessarily take everybody's feelings into account, but I will take your feelings into account because ultimately I want everybody to thrive under my leadership as I'm led by Yahusha. You know what I'm saying? This isn't about people hoarding or control, because I don't want to be controlled. This is setting, healthy parameters up for you to naturally, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually grow so that you can influence someone else. They say a great leader creates other leaders, not more slaves or more people who can't think for themselves or more people. Like, you can challenge me, you know what I'm saying? Of course, do it respectfully and all that, but I'm not feeling some type of way if you ask me a question, like, oh, you asked me a question, rah, rah, rah. Because when I done it, I figure you got the answer and I'm trying to get clarification. I'm trying to get understanding. That's why I'm asking. What you'll notice, you might, go to someone or whatever the case and ask them a question. And especially in these group settings, like that kind of seem cultish, like the church or any kind of grouping that involves some level of quote unquote healing where don't nobody heal. They just, what's the word I'm looking for? They don't really heal. Everybody just upholds each other's dysfunction in a social grouping so they can make the people feel better about the fact that they're not healing and they're not growing. But healing and growing, that's your process. That's your responsibility. Like the victimhood, and it's amazing how people play victim in the stuff that they contributed to, and then elicit sympathy for making all these bad decisions, and then the person they tried to hinder, they now need for help. And I'm moved by the Spirit how to do that. And I'll pray on it before I make a final call, but we moving forward, baby. And it's unfortunate we got to leave folk we've known for years in the dust. Not because we better, because they're not pertinent to the mission. Nothing trumps the mission. Not even my own feelings, my own ideas. You know what I'm saying? It's like, when the word talk about being a soldier, you just take orders. You don't really have to think. And that's what used to jack me up. And I've gotten a whole lot better with it. The word say do this, just do it. You don't have to understand it for it to work. You just got to do it. And now in this space of ever increasing the nuances and insidiousness of the spiritual warfare, you can't intellectualize it. You just got to study your playbook. You know what I'm saying? And become a better player at this game called life from a scriptural lens. That's the only thing gonna happen. And not only that, for navigation purpose, so you don't turn out like them. So that, as the word talk about, the root of bitterness don't get all up in you. Next thing you know, without practicing some type of self-reflection and self-analyzation, you'll mess around and turn into the very thing you despise and claim to be not like. Because you let bitterness or unforgiveness or, you know what I mean? Take root in your soul. Now you all about you, and you justify, and it seems justifiably so, because it seems like everything trying to stop you, or talking down, and this, that, and the third, and whoop, de whoop, de whoop, de whoop. You know what I'm saying? You can't become like them. That's why they coming after you anyway, especially now. And you gotta understand, we not promised no easy life here. I just pray for the strength to endure whatever come down the pipe with wisdom. And on that note, I gotta get to work, baby. Oh, ah!